If you want to create your animated film or you just want to tell a story with images, storyboarding is a key skill to have. It will allow you to tell any story in the form of drawing panels, define your shots, your camera movements, your composition, and how your characters will live their lives and tell your stories. In this video, I will share with you 2 sections of my storyboarding class available on 21 Draw. It's a video class, more than 3 hours long, teaching you everything you need to know about storyboarding, even if you're a beginner. How to compose an image for it to be appealing, what mistakes to avoid, how did I make my storyboards for my short films, what decisions did I have to make. And then we will also make a storyboard and animate it together, starting from a simple story, dividing it into shots, drawing the thumbnails, the final images, adding values, and then editing all our shots to make it an animatic, so the first version of your film. We also make 2 different versions of this storyboard, just to show how different decisions, how different intentions can make 2 different stories. So now, let's watch 2 sections of this class. The first will be mistakes to avoid when doing storyboarding, and the second section is about the storyboard of my short film, Fragments of Sky. Now, I will show you a few mistakes to avoid when making a storyboard. First, too much details. In a storyboard, once again, you have to be really clear and readable. That's really the key of this course. So in that example here, if I draw too many lines, all within the same value, so only the white page and the black lines, and I also draw some shadows in a sketchy way, it can be difficult to understand what's going on, or at least it's too much information. For example, those lines here are not useful for the clarity. Same for the grass here, that's also not really useful. The face is a bit too loose, so instead of that, I do this. Simple shapes, just a few lines, a few different values. The background is really suggested, just a few strokes. The lines of the background are not as dark as the line in the foreground. There is much less information, so it's easier to understand. Second mistake to avoid, lack of variation in the shots. So having shots too similar to the one before and the one after, in terms of composition, for example. Here I have my character hiding from the zombies. We have a diagonal here. The composition is nicely done because I have my character well defined by the dark background. I have some distance shown by the ground here. The lines are a bit more gray in the background, so we understand the distance. It's a medium long shot, so around the hips here, just below the waist. In the next shot, I'm also in the same position, around the same part of the body. I also have around half of the shot occupied by that wall, so it's the same shape, just reversed. And in the third shot, it's the same as the first, here, but with just a different position for the character. So that here it can work, but it's a bit boring in a way because it's always the same kind of shot in terms of composition and size of the character. So what I can suggest in that situation is to have the same first shot, then a close-up. So from that, I just go closer to focus on the expression of the character when he's surprised and scared, and then having a wide shot to show the building here, the character in white, in the same position for the focus, in terms of middle line here, and the zombies walking towards the left. So you can see that you tell the same story, but with more variations in the shots. And that way it could be more interesting to watch. Another mistake is to not draw the background or at least some perspective grid. If I have just my character here, in a blank background, I don't know where he is. I don't even know what's the camera angle. I can know a bit about the camera angle because the character is in that position here. So I could not be just at a low angle, for example, watching from below. But that's not really clear. But if you draw your horizon line, then some perspective lines like that, adding some background elements, it becomes way easier to understand the situation. Here it's just one shot, but if you have several shots like that, it will be really difficult to understand the space. Another mistake, unclear silhouettes. The silhouette is what you see if you put everything in the dark. So here it would be like this. It can be just a character standing and you don't know what he's doing. So you can do that, for example. And if I set my silhouette like this, you can understand at least that he has something in his hand. So that can be also a thing to focus on. What's the silhouette and can it tell the story? So you can try to avoid having too much element in the same depth. Just one in front of the other, because for the silhouette it's not clear. It's not a universal rule, of course, but it can be a thing to focus on to try to improve a bit of the clarity. Going from that to that. And the last mistake I want to talk about here is the lack of emotions and expressions. If you draw a character with round black eyes, not having a nose, not having eyebrows, it can be difficult to understand the situation, what your character is thinking about, what's the emotion. But if you add some big eyes, or at least an eye with a pupil, a nose, eyebrows, you have a much larger range of expressions possible. Your character design could be like this with some black eyes, but if it's not for the final film, don't do it. And that's also why you have to practice drawing different characters, different expressions, trying to simplify the facial characteristics, but to still have the emotion. The second short film I want to talk about is Fragments of Sky, which is a 1-minute short film, much simpler because I have only 14 different shots and the other has around 100. So here I also have all my rules on continuity and composition, a lot of space here with the wall, then my characters within a group. I have also lines to drive the intention. Then here my different characters will stand up and go to the window, and the order is really important. So I have Sarah here, Emily here, and Bastien here. So left, middle, right. And when I go in their back, I have to be consistent. So Bastien here will go to the left, Emily is still in the middle, and Sarah will be on the right. I also play with the shapes. For example, here, it's a triangle here, and a diagonal here, pointing to the same direction. But in the next version of the storyboard, I made it a bit different, because what comes from the sky has to go in the backyard. So it has to be more like this. And I change the shot for that. I have different types of shots, some medium shots here, close up here. That's a pull-out shot. In my storyboard, I just made a tiny movement here, but in the final storyboard, I made it way bigger. So it starts here and then pulls back to here. I also play with the depth. Emily is walking towards the camera. So I have the smoke and the strange element on the left, and the character on the right, and then I just apply my rules for continuity. So she stays in the right, that on the left, and when I look to the characters, the order is the same. So Emily, Sarah, Bastien, Emily, Sarah, Bastien. Here I also thought about the animation itself, so I don't make the character full frame every shot, so that here will be a bit simpler to animate because I don't have to think about the fit. Even if I have to in the rough animation, I don't have to tie down and clean the entire body. So when you do a storyboard, you can also think about the animation itself and how it could be easier to make one way or another. You have to find a balance between what's a good idea, what's nice to see, what's doable also, and what is the best you can do in a reasonable time. So here I play with depth also, one character in the foreground, two characters in the background. I always have my setting, my environment, to set some perspective, to have some guides, like the house here, the little wood walls here. It's very important to always have a sense of perspective and space in your storyboard, so you can always tell where the characters are. Here I have some interaction, Bastien on the shoulders of Emily, looking at each other, and then the final shot, where they become little because we have to focus on the different lights which will be dancing in the sky. So that's a very simple story, only 14 shots, but many different types of shots, a lot of variations in the composition, camera movement, environment. You have all the information here. And I also made a more complex storyboard to be even more clear in what's happening and to have something a bit cleaner also. In the next section, we will make a storyboard together, starting from the story. That's it for these two sections, and if you want to see the whole class, you have all the links below. Also, note that those links below are affiliate links, so if you buy the class or subscribe to 21 Euro from those links, we will get a commission without any change in the price for you. So that's also a way for you to support the development of Callipeg and also the development of future short films we want to make. And speaking of short films, Fragments of Sky, a 1-minute short film I made by myself from the storyboard to character design, animation, colors, background, compositing and music, is now available on YouTube on this Callipeg channel. All the animation, background, coloring are done with Callipeg. Even the storyboard, character design and color script were made in Callipeg, and the compositing is done in After Effects. So I just exported my shots using the JSON export to After Effects in Callipeg, and then used the free script to import it in After Effects and start making all my compositing. That was a very simple pipeline to go from animating, cleaning, coloring on tablet with Callipeg to compositing in After Effects on a computer, and keeping all my layers and timing. That's it. I hope you will enjoy the class and enjoy the film. I will see you soon, and until the next video, have fun animating with Callipeg.